Hey everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Drenched. It has been quite a while since I've uploaded to this, but we're back on that roller coaster of emotions. If you haven't listened to Thunderstorms or Downpour, I suggest you go listen to those first before listening to this series, as this is the third season of Thunderstorms. And just saying, there's going to be a lot of spoilers, so I would go check those out first, and I'll leave those links below. Artwork was done by me, Stacey, Holt. For my voice actors, Adrien, Cat Noir, and Felix will be voiced by Diz. I'll be voicing Marinette, Ladybug, and the Narrator. Zora will be voicing Bunnix, Chloe, and Miss Bustier. Aunt Amelie and Rose will be voiced by Ray. Now, back to the chapter. Chapter 4. Getting up the next morning was a pain. It was familiar, but yet unfamiliar. Seeing your twin cousin everywhere you look was a little unsettling. Not to mention your aunt looking exactly like your mother who was in a coma.
Aunt Amelie?
Adrien asked.
Yes, Adrien?
She asked, looking up from her phone at the breakfast table.
I was going to wait a little while before asking, until you got settled in, but... when will I be able to go see my father during visiting hours?
Adrien asked, a little saddened.
Oh dear, anytime you would like. He's your father after all.
She smiled.
Really?
His eyes widened at such a nice response.
I'm not like your father. I'm not going to enclose you in your house and tell you no. That's just not who I am. I don't mind you going where you would like, as long as you let me know where you are and you're safe. Though they aren't allowing visiting hours at this time. I will let you know when they are.
She smiled. Adrien smiled and nodded, seeing just how she was related to his mother.
One more question, if that's all right.
He said.
The police said they found my mother. Where is she?
He said in a whisper, trying not to seem like he didn't actually witness her in the basement himself.
They took her to the hospital to monitor her there. Surprisingly, Gabriel had the best equipment here as well. It was almost like she was already being cared for like she was at a hospital. You may go and see her anytime you would like as well.
Amelie said, seeing Adrien's frown lessened at her kind words.
Thank you, Aunt Amelie.
No problem, dear. Now you two better rush off to school before you both are late.
She said, standing up and walking into her office. Adrien looked over at Felix, who was swiping through his phone, completely unaffected by their entire conversation. That, or he just didn't care.
Come on, Felix,
Adrien said, picking up his school bag. They both got inside the car and went to school, meeting inside the middle of the school ground where they showed Felix the day before. People were crowding around to see the new student, and Felix wasn't very happy about the attention. He didn't perk up until he saw Marinette turn the corner and walked over to her, pushing past everyone, making sure Adrien saw out of the corner of his eye. Adrien narrowed his eyes out of slight irritation and rolled his eyes, then walked toward Marinette, silently following behind Felix.
Good morning, Marinette.
Felix said, smiling. Oh, good morning, Felix, she said, not expecting it to be Felix.
Good morning, princess,
Adrien said, sliding over and smirking. Marinette looked at Adrien and blushed slightly at his choice of words in public and gave him a slightly confused look, wondering why he chose to use that name so loosely, especially in front of Felix. Good morning, Adrien, she said, smiling nervously.
Princess,
Felix said, turning his head to look at him.
Yeah, we're dating. We have nicknames for each other.
He smiled devilishly. Felix rolled his eyes and walked away, leaving Adrien and Marinette to talk amongst themselves for the time being. What was that all about? Marinette whispered.
He's been acting weird,
Adrien whispered back, glancing back at Felix, seeing him talk to Alya and Nino. I didn't tell you something about Felix. I didn't think it mattered because he was 14 at the time, but I met him when I was Ladybug, Marinette said, a little embarrassed.
Well, I remember him on the ground and you were yelling at him. But what actually happened?
He asked, curious now. He tried pretending to be you and confessed his love for me and tried to kiss me. As Ladybug. I knew it wasn't you because you weren't so pushy. Then I kinda punched him in the face.
He tried to kiss you? As me? I know he tried pretending to be me, but I didn't think he took it that far.
Adrien asked, shocked. He didn't though, and we were still kids back then. I don't think he knew that was me, because I was Ladybug when that happened, so... She trailed off.
So we can't confront him about it.
Adrien sighed. Yeah, she said. How has he been acting weird around you? Marinette asked, seeing that something was still bothering him.
Something is just off. He didn't put up any fight moving here. When he first came here and caused all of that drama, he hated me. Maybe he did this to make up for it, but I'm not so sure,
he said. Before they could talk anymore, the bell rang, causing them to head to class. Marinette started walking to class but felt Adrien grab her hand. She turned her head and looked back at him, feeling him kiss her cheek.
I just wanted to give you a kiss before we went.
He smiled, blushing before he walked toward the classroom, leaving her speechless. She smiled and looked down at Tikki, who smiled at her and rolled her eyes. After Adrien had given her a kiss and left her in a slight emotional blush daze, she rushed to class. Walking into the classroom, she saw that she was the last one to join the class, as usual.
Oh, Marinette, I know you and Adrien just started sitting next to one another, but Lila came to me before class and said that her tinnitus is acting up once again, and she needed to have your seat.
Miss Bustier smiled. Marinette frowned, knowing fully well it was a lie, and looked over at Adrien. He sighed and looked to his left and saw Lila smiling at him. Marinette groaned and sat at the back of the class, looking out the window, not even bothering with Lila's everyday lies, because she knew Adrien was her boyfriend, though she wasn't prepared for what came next.
Everyone, like I told you yesterday, our new student is Felix Graham de Vinelli.
She smiled, letting him enter the classroom. Everyone had already crowded him outside of class, but they were still amazed at how alike he and Adrien were all the same.
Since Lila is sitting in the front, why don't you take a seat next to Marinette, Felix?
Miss Bustier smiled, motioning up to the seat next to Marinette. Marinette's eyes widened as she saw him coming to sit next to her. Seeing him smile, Adrien turned and frowned while Marinette exchanged the same look, both wishing that Lila and Felix would have sat together instead.
Well, looks like we're going to be getting to know one another a lot better, Marinette.
Alright guys, that concludes chapter 4 of Drenched. I want to make this super short, so I will see you in the next chapter. Bye guys!